Welcome to Beltaloader, the officially unofficial podcast for The Expanse on Amazon Prime. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about Season 6, Episode 2, titled The Azure Dragon. Aaron, I don't know about you, but I enjoyed this episode.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed this episode a lot. It's becoming clear to me that this is going to be a very movie-like 3-act structure, or at least that's what it seems like. Because the one thing that impressed me in my rewatch of The Expanse is like what a fucking momentum this show has, and that like almost every hour they're managing to have like fairly big cliffhanger, like oh my god, what's going to happen next. This season, it doesn't seem like they're doing that. It seems like it's very much conventionally like an arc. Like, it wasn't a cliffhanger. We knew what Avasarala was going to suggest. I mean, not exactly, but like...
Yeah, I don't think they gave you enough information to really know.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they got the fucking spotter ship. They got the Rocinante with their small crew. They got Bobby Draper walking tank. Like, they're his intelligence coup.
These pieces fit together in a certain way, right?
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of this, like, it's a little bit of, it's not really a cliffhanger. It's the villain reacting to the thing that happened in the first act and saying, oh, well, we're going to have an Empire strike. We're going to have a Inaros strikes back kind of situation when the Belters or when the Inners try to retake Ceres. So it's like, it's not a cliffhanger. It's just handing the ball off to the next act. Yeah, so that's not a criticism. I mean, that's just like, that's a pretty classical structure. But I thought it's real good. Like they're finding ways. Like the crew is starting to like deal with their shit. The stuff that they're dealing with made a lot of sense. I really liked, I guess when Naomi had the panic attack going out, like that makes a lot of sense after her, adventures on the chain smoker last year. And the space battle, the chase was thrilling. Yeah. Like, Bobby got to do cool Bobby shit. Peaches got to do cool Melba shit. I liked it. And you said you did too. So
yeah, I mean that space battle was kind of awesome. I liked seeing a little more finesse from the crew. They can't just like fire 600 PDC rounds into this thing. They have to figure out a way to match it. And I love too that you had some people not strapped in to crash couches. They were just on the deck, and Amos is being squashed and Naomi's being squashed. And then you've got Belters on the other ship who can't take the G's that a human could take, and it's like, okay, which one of these things is going to win? There are like a lot of variables in that, and to me, that was super exciting.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I am shocked. I'm really shocked we went back to Laconia for the further adventures of the cute kid and her alien menagerie.
Yeah, the one gripe I have about this episode, the season so far, I don't know why this is important in any way.
And this
is really going to have to pay off to not make it a waste of like 5 or 6 minutes at this point.
It still feels to me like this is the future of the Expanse, and like I'm surprised they're devoting so much to it when they are, by all accounts, prepared to drop this like the hottest of potatoes at the end of the season.
Yeah,
like,
still to
it really
to this day,
feels to me that they are counting on the fact that there's going to be a mini series or a movie or offer or something in the future. And again, I can't I don't know. I'm getting nervous because we're recording this in a vacuum. We're just recording this back to back, and it's just me and Jim locked in a room with our fears talking. But like it just seems insane but it seems insane to me that no one would pick this property up. But on the other hand, like, I don't know. Since last night, I guess I've been thinking about what you've been saying about, what is the actual evidence that this is like, this is just now starting to feel like posturing from the production team, like wanting, like, hey, yeah, there's more story, but like, who is the one that's taking? I don't know whether people are waiting to see how this final book is received, because that's important. If this final book if is like meh or worse, then I'd feel significantly more bearish on this thing's options. But on the other hand, it just came out today. And if we get in the next 24 to 48 hours, like positive thumbs up from the fan base, then I just can't believe someone's going to sit and have an unproduced trilogy with a built-in fan base. Whatever size you think that fan base is.
Yeah. I don't know.
We
We'll
got
see.
200,000
I'm
people
fully
on Reddit
expecting,
subscribed, you know?
but by the time that this airs, like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
3 weeks from now or whatever,
Yeah.
they will have either said, yeah, we're totally dropping it. We have no plans to renew, or they'll have said, yeah, we're renewed for another 3 seasons. I doubt that, but
See, I think
we'll
that
see.
only happens if Amazon picks it up. I think what'll happen
Yeah.
is
There'll be another Save the
is
Expanse, and you'll have to
yeah,
go
there'll
out
be
there
a
without
streaming
Cass
Firehawks will be
Sandbar
back.
making the
We'll have
connections.
to-
And
yeah,
yeah.
and then if that's the case, like it might take but like, man,
Yeah.
it's and I don't know what is it, Skydance? I don't know, like, because somebody was talking about, like, you know, the scary thing about a significant hiatus is like what happens to the sets, what happens to the costumes, what
Mhm.
like that shit starts to get broken down, that stuff starts to get thrown into the wood chipper to make space for other productions.
Yeah.
You know, like, and there's significant investments in that, and like if another that makes it less likely, because, you know, there's going to have to be all that work done again. What do you do if the cast starts? And, you know, I don't know. I don't know. But again, 2 episodes in, this is so good, I don't want it to end. And
Of course, yeah. I think we're all feeling that. It's
and that's what's really
last
settling
season
in, is like
lows.
we're a third of the way done. We're already a third of the way
I
done.
know, man. It's great. And we've done these, like you said, back to back over 2 days. So it really feels shortened for us.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I hope
I'm
they
gonna be
don't.
sad.
I'm not 100%. Like, I'm pretty sure. I mean, we just surmise that as short as the season is, and I think the Wikipedia and the IMDb airing, like, it doesn't seem like going to double up. But holy cow, if they doubled up and got like the first 2 episodes out, it's like, whew, 5 weeks, you're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Anyway, yeah, do we want to talk more preamble stuff, or should we get right into the episode? Okay, this week's episode begins with the further adventures of adorable little girl from Laconia, having, quite frankly, terrifying experiences with completely alien life forms, totally unsupervised. My dad reflexes and instincts are completely on overdrive, and it's killing me. What do you think of this scene, Jim?
I don't know what to think of this scene, man. It's not a bad scene. It just doesn't feel like it's doing anything. Like, it's introducing a new character on a strange planet, but that might be exciting if I felt like it were going somewhere, but how is it connected to anything else that we think is going on Laconia? How is it connected to proto-molecule stuff? Like, what are they doing with this? Because they're spending an awful lot of time on this girl kind of trying to understand the wildlife of this planet and help the wildlife of this planet. There's some message there that I'm just not getting.
Well, there's stuff in the background happening for sure, but like, let's talk about the foreground first. Like, you know, I was wondering, like, what are they going for last week? Is this like some kind of War of the Worlds? The girl coughed on these things, and now they're going to die. I don't know why I didn't think about it. It's the food she fed, you know, and her mom and dad have to explain. I think that's laying groundwork for probably some kind of alien thing. But again, that seems like
why
season 7, you know, a hypothetical, fantastical season 7. There is some stuff. There's some dialogue where the dad breaks in from the girl's hysterics about killing these sunbirds or whatever they're called. It says the soldiers have called a meeting. All settlers have to attend. The mother then goes off camera again, and this is all in the background. I had to crank my TV up to hear it. We have nothing to do. The mother says, but we have nothing to do with whatever they're building up in the orbit. And if they want to help, the least they can do is open up the comms relays to let us know what's going on back home.
So let's watch the parents for 6 minutes in a 43-minute episode. Let's do that instead of watching this little girl.
That tells us a couple things. Like, there is, you know, that we knew this last episode, I guess, is that the Marco has shut down communications through the ring gate. We now know that this is going both ways. And the colonists on these other planets know about it. So and they know about what's being built, but they, like, you know, that's one thing I was wondering is, like, is everyone on Laconia like on mission as the fucking captain that wanted to, you know, give his subordinate 50 lashes for having a bracelet that reminded her of his mother? You know, like, are they all that crazy? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like there's just a lot of scientists and civilians on this Spartan super Martian soldier program, which I think is interesting. But again, I'm with you. I don't know where it's going to.
I mean, it's got to be doing stuff that's in books 7, 8, 9 somewhere, and then they are going. I mean, none of this stuff is in book 6. This is a novella, like I said when last episode when we talked about Strange Dogs. That's the name of the novella, but like, it's a novella for a reason, right? It's not mainline. It's not critical to the story. So what are we doing? Spending,
I don't know,
6 minutes out of a 43-minute episode that is one of 6 in the entire final season. This time seems very important, and this plot seems very irrelevant.
Like we talked about, this is like a football season. Every fucking minute feels like it matters. And like, what are they spending this on?
This is the last 30 seconds of a basketball game where everybody's calling timeout. Everybody's getting free throws in. And this little girl's just dancing around on the court. And people are watching her instead of the game. I don't get it. What's
happening? I did like when she was running pell-mell through the forest with the dying bird in her hand, her stepping in front of the armored golf cart, and this guy's ADR. Hey, watch it, kid. It sounds like some guy, I don't know, a sitcom set, and a kid is running out, honk.
Yeah.
What are you trying to walk here? Like, it's this close to I'm walking here, scene on an alien world. It's a first for humanity. The other thing is, like, I just can't get over, like, this seems just so menacing. Like this girl turning her back on this giant frog thing, and it's creeping up on her. I'm like, what's this going to eat her? It's just going to fucking eat her whole. And then it eats the other. So it's carnivorous. But like, I don't know. Is this going to be like, are they telling the story of a complete biome collapse? Because she's going to feed this thing tainted meat, and it's going to fall into the ocean and get swallowed by whatever this version of shark. It's just going to fucking just destroy the Laconian biosphere. Do they care? Because the other thing is, apparently,
good question.
None of their life chemistry is compatible, so we can't eat any of them for food. They can't eat any of us for food. Like, it's...
Yeah, I thought that stuff was interesting. But...
I'm just shocked. I thought carbon-based life would have a lot more things in common as far as what they can put in their mouth.
Yeah, I would have too. Like, clearly it's carbon-based because the atmosphere is breathable by humans. So,
I think so. Right.
You kind of are going to have similar organisms developing, I would think. But what do I know?
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, I'm curious because apparently this is just going to be the intro of every episode, is what I'm going to guess is going to happen from here on out. So little girl, we'll wait to see here. It feels like a serial though, like a short that opens up a feature,
Yeah, and maybe it'll come around. See what happens. They got 4 more episodes, so
this is true. So Rocinante gets more fuel, more food, more water, more bullets from a UNN supply ship, and also a surprise mission specialist. If you fell asleep in the last 5 minutes last episode, you might be surprised, but we're not. One former Martian recon marine, Roberta Draper, reporting for duty.
Yeah, that wasn't the biggest surprise to me in this episode, because of course we kind of saw that coming. This scene's biggest surprise: Holden calling Clarissa Mao Peaches. I was not joking about this. Less than 1 day ago, I was joking about how Holden would never call her Peaches. They are so far from that. There's no possible way. And then here it is, very next episode. For me, the same evening, because I watched this last night, here is Holden calling her Peaches unironically.
You're like you're like the meme of the guy eating a bowl of cereal. He's never gonna call her Peaches. Next frame, spitting it out. Yeah,
right.
And the way they played it was funny too, because Holden's like, it's like, like dirty laundry falling out of his mouth. Like he kind of like Peaches, like he can't believe he's saying it.
I couldn't either. It was wild.
I mean, why? There's the option of calling her Clarissa.
Yeah, Claire. Claire. Call her Claire, like everybody else did. Yeah,
Miss Mao. There's lots of options besides Peaches. And I think that's the other thing, is it kind of surprised him. He like wins, like, fuck, I've heard nothing Peaches the last 6 months.
True,
it's pretty funny.
True. I will say, in a 6-episode season, you probably don't have a lot of time to pussyfoot around what's he going to call her and how are they going to repair this relationship? And they do a little bit. They do probably most of what they're going to do in this episode with bridging the gap between Holden and her.
I think it works. I'm going to talk about it more later because, you know, they haven't actually done the thing yet. But I like that. I like the, you know, the merchant marine, I guess, supply officer being like, oh, isn't this nice? We're dropping off Mickey ammo and a belter pirate ship kind of.
He says it's great to see everybody working together. But what he really is saying is now we all have a common enemy that we can go kill. That's what he's really saying. And
he's also there's still an us and them, and the them is the belter, and you've got a belter in the scene. So like, at least he didn't use the S slur,
right?
Like Bull was throwing around last season. But
and then hell yeah, Bobby comes in and she's towing her suit in that case, and I'm just like, oh, things are gonna get good.
I want to say because I know I've talked some shit about the zero gravity work on this show before, and I will say that, like, again, recently rewatching the whole series, I was kind of blown away by how above average the zero G work is. And I think what drives me crazy is every once in a while there'll be like the focus on a wrong extra or sometimes even main cast members that are not doing. You know, like I said, like I think at one point, like Ashford leans against a console in zero G, and I'm like, that's just stupid. Like that shouldn't happen. They do, on the whole, really good work. We talked about Amos's Mario Galaxy experience last episode. Holden just gliding down the staircase like a vampire.
Yeah.
I fucking loved it. And like you said, Bobby carting like an entire Martian arsenal just with fingertip control.
Yeah.
That stuff is really cool. And it's stuff they're doing that's not even showy. It's just if you didn't pay attention to Holden's feet, you just might think he's walking down the thing. But like just grace notes like that and then just nailing it, I think are great.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, it does. Like I liked how that Holden was happy to see Bobby. But also kind of frowny face at the amount of weapons and armor that she's bringing in. And like, what does this mean, you know, for the Rocinante? Because he's the captain. He's worried. Meanwhile, Filip is cooling his heels in a series clink when his father comes to bail him out.
Yeah. There's a conversation here between Marco and Filip, one that looks like it might not have happened if things didn't go exactly this way, where Marco is essentially saying to him he's an embarrassment, which is interesting. Or he's the words he uses make it sound as if he's concerned about Filip's reputation, but what he's actually concerned about is his own reputation. And I think there are a couple of scenes in this episode that show that. The other scene is the one about the definition of love that we'll get to later. Both of these scenes, and I think we know this about Marco, he's more concerned with his own image than anyone else, including Filip. Oh, yeah. And this scene reflects that.
And he also manipulates and emotionally abuses the people he loves. That's how he kept Naomi under his thumb. And the book, by the way, book 5 is really good at showing, like, you know, how much, you know, long lasting damage he did to her. But Filip is getting, you know, we talked about this a lot last season, that like Filip is just getting it from both ends. He's both like, you know, a 16-year-old dealing with this delusions of grandeur that his father's blowing into his head, and then also dealing with his father's mercurial temperament and, you know, inability to let, you know, him be just, you know, be his own person. Like he wants him to be a miniature version of himself, and when he breaks out of that mold or disappoints him, or, you know, it's like just not just bringing him back to earth, but just these vicious attacks on his manhood and all that. And it's more the same. I did think there's a couple things interesting. I like that, you know, again, as this is the end of a series of the Expanse, if not the series, this is the end of the second trilogy. And I like how many callbacks. It's like we had the Belter provocateur from the first episode and the last episode. we begin with Miller and as a Star Helix agent on series. Well, where we see Filip sitting in a Star Helix jail cell, and the logo's been defaced with an OPA symbol. Like, there's so many nice callbacks to season 1 and this allegedly final season that I liked it a lot. The other thing is, if we didn't know it before, Marco really doesn't give a shit about any part of the belt that's not the Free Navy. Like, he completely runs roughshod over the station administrator. The laws do not apply to him and his crew. And that should be chilling if you're an administrator trusting on this guy to feed your people. Yeah. And make sure you get needed supplies. During the easy part of the campaign, again, that's the other thing, is like, he has been able to do whatever the fuck he wants for like the last 6 to 9 months. And things are going to get significantly harder now after this episode. But yeah, I don't know. And that's the other thing, is like, I feel like there is also some daylight between what he says to, like, about him and Sin, how like, oh, we drank and we had someone different every night, but every morning we were back on the line because there was nobody. And then I think someone else is telling a story about, in the old days when he's actually talking to his lieutenant. He's saying back in the old days, like, they would sleep through their shift on the line because they were so he's like, bull. And this is common to parents. Like, and I think it's a mistake to offer yourself up as a paragon. When I was your age, I did everything right, and you're stupid. You're doing everything wrong. Bull fucking shit. Yeah. That's never the case. So there's a little bit of the big heaping helping of that if you're paying attention to the dialogue of him bullshitting his own son about how awesome he was back in the day. And it just makes Filip feel inadequate. I mean, I feel like that's the performance we're getting out of this kid at the end of the scene. So Bobby briefs the crew of the Rocinante on their new mission, and afterwards Holden expresses some of his fears he has about the ring-eating Martian ships.
Yeah, several Martian ships have disappeared. It's not just the Barkeith from last season. It's several, according to Bobby. And I guess we'll get more information about that. Bobby's going to get Holden some intel. That'll be good. Although they get a lot of intel this episode.
Yeah, and I also think that, like, there's also, I think, room, like, cause like I think what Bobby's saying about, like, we just assumed a lot of these were rogue Martian ships that went to slink off the Marco. I bet that's what a lot of them are. Like, I don't think that literally every one of the ships that, like, the Mars is tracked is going to be eaten by the thing. But it does make you wonder, why is the ring gate selectively eating some? Why is it not just like eating all of them that go through a certain gate? Why is, like, what is going on that's maybe increasing the activity? There's a bunch of questions I had in my mind.
Yeah. No, I hope we get some answers. We'll see.
It's interesting, the scene where Bobby's briefing the crew. It's a war between the crew's kind of war-weary cynicism and Bobby's kind of like recruiting poster. Right. Rah, rah, rah. I think the truth is a little bit in between. I think Avasarala, as just watching through the series, that's one of the things that really brought Avasarala down in the early seasons, is that ill-fated strike. There's definitely, like, the crew Rocinante, the wild cards, the people just go around pushing buttons and fucking shit up in the solar system. Like, if you hear that they tried some daring raid on some Marco facility and they got their ass blasted, that's just a Rocinante. If it's a crew of UN Marines going in there and getting spanked, then it's like it's another failure of the Earth government, right? So, and that's good politics, honestly. You can't have Earth falling apart at a time like this, so you need them to have faith in the government, or it's just going to, whatever death toll, whatever starvation, whatever kind of lawlessness and loss of life is just going to be 10 times greater if, like, the churn really sets in,
Oh yeah, mother of all churns.
Yeah. But they also got, I like knowing, and boy, this has been increasingly rare in prestige television of late, or good television, but like, I like knowing the fucking plan as it is and how it's supposed to go before we I'm like Holden. I like knowing the plan before we start deviating from it. And a lot of shows, like, just prefer to, like, everyone knows the plan except for the audience. So, anything can be a surprise, anything can be a plan, anything can be. And I like the scene of, like, guess this is how it's supposed to happen.
They play a lot with that the idea of like what is the plan and what happens when the plan changes, and did the plan ever change? There's a bit of like 1984. We were always at war with whatever Asia going on in this episode, and I'll talk about it when we get to the Marco scenes because he is kind of known for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also really liked Amos's reaction. Like so much of what Amos does is just for being funny in the margins. But you know, him like, is anyone getting paid extra for this? And you know, Bob's like, I'm not in for pay, and Amos just like triple take and like, what is? And then when Bobby tries to shine him on, he's like, you know what? Fuck all of you people. I'm gonna roll a grenade into the mess area here, and like, hey. Here's Clarissa Mao, wanted mass murderer. Say hi. Talk to Holden about it. Peace. Like, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, we move on to drummer ship Tynan. This is, of course, we'll know this by the end of the episode, but this is the Ghost Knife of the Belt. This is Ashford Kloss's famous. This is like Blackbeard's ship, you know, like this, the Queen Anne's Revenge. This is a storied ship in the belt, and they really sell that in this episode. Drummer's forced to meet with a quite Lando Calrissian type figure, Liang Walker, on board his ship to Irizami, having no safer option to get her wayward crew member Michio off her ship. Like I said, this guy is very Lando-ish. He is going to either serve a very important role in Drummer's guerrilla war against Marco, or he might sell her out to him. And I just hope he has the common courtesy to act real bad and mutter things like this deal keeps getting worse all the time while he's doing it.
And his like Scottish belter. I don't know what his accent is. There's a little bit of some like Sean Connery-esque thing going on there too.
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I liked it. I didn't have a problem, but
I assume this guy's a character in the book. Yes, no. Really? Okay. Is he not do you not recognize him as a compositive, or do you kind of just recognize the really? Okay. Because I was like, how close on the Lando scale am I? Because it does seem like this guy
I can't tell you.
He is the obvious ally, but also hidden threat. Could go either way. I like him.
I do too. And he seems like
I like an old grizzled belter. Yeah,
he's a decent pirate, right? He's not like one of the pirates that's gonna, I don't know, swashbuckle you. Sure, that's a thing pirates do.
Well, he has no love for the Empire. I mean, he has no love for Marco. I can tell you that much
for sure. Yeah,
probably a good way. Probably a good place to hole up and get your Millennium Falcon fixed, or steal your Macho Peru.
Yeah, until he alters the deal, and then you're fucked.
Yeah.
I was super worried that they were going to put Michio into this pirate's hands, and that seems super dangerous. But, or I guess he's a smuggler, or was a smuggler. I don't know. He's Han Solo and Lando Calrissian rolled into one.
He is. Well, I mean, Han Solo is Lando. Lando is Han. They're very similar.
But I don't know if that's the case even by the end of this. We'll see. Because there's a second portion to this scene where Drummer gives him the tour of the ship, and they get to talking more, and some things change. We'll I think, but we'll get there.
But I like this because like so far we've introduced to two classes of belter. One that just is wildly enthusiastic about Marco Inaros and what he's doing, and the people who are dead or that he wants dead. Now there's a third class of belter that might have some skepticism about Marco. Like it is wild because I'd forgotten this in season 4, but there's this whole scene where Drummer and Ashford has Marco in an airlock about to space him, and Drummer turns out to be a political miscalculation. I thought it was smart at the time. Spares him to play a bigger political game. But like Marco was never like popular with every faction in the belt, and now we're seeing how what it's like to have a navy, half of the people that might distrust you, mistrust you, not have some grievances. You're exploitable. Everything's great when things are going well for you and you seem like you're the golden child, but as you start getting some military reversals, I wonder how many of these kind of lone wolf types will start slinking off from the pack.
And I do wonder how difficult it's going to make it for Earth to tell the difference, or for the inners, Earth and Mars, to tell the difference, because like there's a lot of
they're all belters,
wiggle
right?
room, right? They're all belters to them, kind of.
Right.
B, even if they were to distinguish and have a nuanced view of the belters, that could easily provide cover for the Free Navy to slip in and fuck shit up.
Sure, because they
could just say, no, we're not loyal to Marco, and then boom, here they are behind your lines, doing things. So it's going to get complicated.
It's tough being in a civil war. It's tough being an ally to someone in a civil war. It's just tough all around.
Another thing I pulled out of this scene, it's just kind of like some quick dialogue here and there, is that Marco has started pulling supplies off of Ceres and Ganymede, which we know is like the breadbasket of the belt, essentially, and putting them in supply depots around the solar system.
Exactly.
All over the belt. So I guess what image does that conjure in your head? What do you think is going on there?
Well, so in the next scene, which we can get into, Marco pores over a map of these depots that we just talked about, trying to figure out a way to divert supplies to the Medina station even faster. Mm-hmm. He is doing some big project at the Medina station involving some type of cooperation with the Laconians, is what I'm putting together. And I suspect it's protomolecule technology based. I suspect there's going to be a sudden and inevitable betrayal of by the Laconians to Marco, or vice versa. But I think the Laconians, like, they wanted that. The Laconians, like, hey, shut the door behind us. Like, don't let anybody through.
For sure.
Yeah.
But they're the bouncer, right? The Marco's their bouncer.
But I remember that scene of in the last season of Expanse, where the Martian admiral that ends up getting eaten by the gate was talking about like the unique defensive position of the gate and all that. And I don't think that was all to set up the final battle to take the ring, which in the books is a political coup. Like, Marco just gets some insiders in there and they just take it from underneath Fred Johnson. There's no battle for it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not sure what the fucking Martians' plan was. It seems to me, if I was guessing, that they wanted to be shut off from everything else in their system with Kodazar. I think that's the name of the psychotic or sociopathic scientist that's a protomolecule specialist, while he builds them a whole bunch of outlandish future weaponry and build them up into the Mars that they always wanted to be, as tough, indefeatable or invincible military force. And then they go take the gate and reclaim the system by force.
Which I guess Marco is just hoping that when that happens, they don't turn on him. Because that's a very short-sighted play for Marco if he's willing to protect them without any real leverage. Like, once they build those protomolecule ships, we saw one. That thing doesn't look like it could be challenged by anything Earth's got, let alone the belt.
Probably not. It's so huge.
Yeah,
it's so huge.
Like, it seems short-sighted to just think, we'll protect you while you build this massive army, and then please don't use it on us when you come back.
Yeah, and I always thought it was telling the scale of the ring. Like, I'm thinking, like, like, we've got Panamax class merchant ships, and they're called that because they're exactly as big as what can fit through the Panama Canal. That's essentially a hard limit on how big ships can be, unless you're just running, like, something from Japan to California back.
Sure.
The rings are fucking huge. Like, massive. I remember watching one Medina station going through, me and Jack, and there's a close up of Medina. Well, I guess at the time is the behemoth. And I'm like, man, look how big that is. And then they go and they do a wide shot, and it's just like, it looks like a soda straw going through an extra large Taco Bell cup, like, right? The size of ship that can fit through this thing. I've always thought that must be one of the final. In fact, that might be the final shot of this season, is like just a fucking 90% max size of ship coming through into the solar system. And what the fuck do you do about that?
Right.
Does Marco have his own protomolecule, or is he stupid enough to give all of the belt's protomolecule to the Martians?
Maybe he does. I don't know. That would be a thing I would want to split. But also, if he does, he doesn't seem to be using it for anything. Like,
he doesn't have the scientist that can unlock it.
The research curve.
Like, it's kind of like a bio terror weapon, whereas the Martian faction seems to be making it to super weapons.
It's only a bioterror weapon as long as they don't understand it well enough to defeat it, right? Like,
right.
Your researchers could probably figure out a way to either nullify it or to use it to your advantage or something if you try to unleash that on them. So,
plus, I don't. It's like, also, is protomolecule that dangerous? Like, it was dangerous because it was trying to build the gate. Like, that was the work it was trying to do.
mm-hmm.
Like, when the protomolecule doesn't have anything to do, it seems to be content to sit there dormant, not doing anything.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't even know if you like started firing protomolecule into, like, wouldn't it just like talk to the other protomolecule and be like, hey, there's nothing to do, go back to sleep.
Maybe that's what they're doing on Laconia. They're getting all this like feeding an ecosystem poison thing to then turn around and feed it protomolecule because they've got new life forms to deal with.
Yeah, and they figured out how to like direct the protomolecule rather than just, because they never did. They just figured out how. They barely figured out what it was trying to do before it just did it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
we'll see.
So that's there's a discussion to Depot, but this also turns into discussion with his second officer, who you said is Renfield?
Rosenfeld.
Rosenfeld.
Yeah, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
We kind of talked about this before, you know, because she's a rough and tough belter, and she got thrown into a recycler tank. Which seems pretty horrific for some kind of, and they talk about, you know, like the nature of love. I thought this was all actually pretty good and telling.
Yeah.
Because like at the bottom, what Marco needs his son to be is what he needs him to be. You know, like he needs him to be like this perfect belter, you know, the obvious heir to the throne, his strong right hand man. And it's such a contrast because the other, you know, epic sci-fi thing I saw, was a bunch of epic sci-fi because there's tons of epic sci-fi right now. But Dune, like you contrast like Duke Leto's conversation with his son, where it's like, you know, at the end of the day, all I need you to be is my son, and you're a success if you do that. You compare that to like the shit that Marco's throwing on Filip, and it's night and day.
I mean, it's just so clear that when he says he loves Filip, what he means is he loves what Filip could be for his reputation. He loves him egotistically, right?
He's classic narcissist. Like, you're a feather in my cap, and if you're an ugly feather, then fuck you. I don't need you.
Right.
I'd rather you not be born. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
What's an ugly feather? You know, like whose standard are we talking about, Dad? Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, it's wild. He's clearly abusing Filip here.
I thought it was telling too that Rosenfeld threw in that maybe like in the litany of things that this could be. It's like, you know, could you pity him? Could you miss him? Could you envy him? And there seems to be some obvious sexual tension between Rosenfeld and Marco.
I think so.
Like, you know, him being fascinated. Everyone else here is afraid of me because I'm the great Marco. And she's like, I mean, this is very almost tropey. But I think it's, you know, this person's been cast as like, you know, an alt pinup girl. Mm-hmm. She is super sexy and in exactly the same way that Marco is. Like, Marco is an alt pinup dude, right?
Sure.
You know, and there's something I also noticed about this in the characterization of this episode. Like, the neck tattoo has always been like synonymous with like the old school belter, right? You know, you got the old school belters that actually had the scars around their neck from their old shitty suits burning them. The new belters have a tattoo shaped like that to like harken back to be like, yeah, we're old school like these guys. She's got like the barbed wire twisted version of that. Like, it feels like a real hard flex. Like, sure, I'm not just a belter with a neck. I'm a belter with like fucking razor blades and shit sticking out of my neck scar. And it feels like she's very much like Marco. She's a lot of sizzle, and I'm not seeing the steak. Yet.
No? Okay. I mean, she's clearly the one who's like running everything behind the scenes, right? And we haven't gotten a glimpse necessarily behind those scenes yet. So I don't know how good she is at that, but I don't know. Maybe it's just her physical presence in this, but I'm getting like very big Cara Dune vibes from her, like from Mandalorian.
But she's competent and she's got a lot of stake. And I compared this to like Sin and Carol from last episode. Like those people were like extremely old school belters that would take no shit and were like fucking hard as nails, all that kind of stuff. I'm not getting that from her. I'm getting her that she's very into the aesthetic of that, but I don't know how much of that is just making her sexy so that her and Marco can get it, because it seems like they're destined to, and how much of that is them trying to deliberately characterize her as kind of like a dabble. Like this is the kind of stuff that Julie Mao would get up to if she hadn't have gotten proto-moleculed, you know? Like,
I guess
it's all
I don't know that we've
look.
seen anything. Like so far it's all about the look, but
it's
we
all
just
her
don't
myth
know.
making. Like, oh, I had to swim in a recycler because I was such a badass, you know? Like it's all talk. We haven't seen her do anything.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like show me something that she can do that will impress me. And I'll believe it. But until I see the opposite, I'm not gonna like discount it. I'm just gonna say, okay, well, this seems like a person who to be reckoned with. So let me take her seriously.
She also I get a lot of lazy. Like I think of Marco as being pretty lazy in terms of like big picture stuff and important stuff. Like he's like there for the flash and for the photo ops, but not for like the hard work. And I get a lot of the same from her. Like, you know, oh, gee, it's too hard to feed her people and do this ambitious military project. Let's not even try to do both. Let's just fucking divert everything over to the military project and fuck. It's just like everything is just kind of the lazy, expedient, selfish thing with her and Marco. And they're kind of two peas in a pod.
I didn't get that she was doing it because she's lazy. I thought she was doing it because she genuinely doesn't give a shit about these people and thinks that the military victory is what brings them. Same reason Marco does it. It's what brings him glory, right? But
that's active malice rather than just laziness and neglect. But
sure.
But they're two peas in a pod is what I'm getting at. And for sure. I don't know how much of that is baked into her appearance or not. There's also a lot of great scenes where they're discussing Filip in like a very patronizing kind of like way. Filip dealing with his very real like trauma, going through videos and pictures of his friend, and you know, there's that damn crocodile vest. He's going to be wearing that next episode, right?
I don't think he put it back in the box. I was expecting him to, because he wears it in the book, but
it needs to stay in the box, Filip. Don't get it back out. It's got a bullet hole in it now. You don't blood. You don't want it. Mm-hmm. So we move on to Drummer giving Walker a tour of the Tynan, and she tries stoking the piratical fire in his belly. I think trying to convince and or entice him into betraying Marco and robbing him blind.
Yep, it seems like it. She understands that he knows some of the location of the depots, I guess, and that he would be a valuable ally if she were trying to make a big score against Marco. Yeah, no, it's
she needs supplies. Marco needs disrupting.
This is Michio territory. This is kind of where I always thought Drummer was going after season 5. The other thing about this is, does this change where Michio is going to end up? Is she going to stay on the ship? Because like, if they go off fighting Marco together and stealing supplies, what's the point of putting her on his ship?
That is what we call in this business an arc, Jim. You make this little sheepish girl completely helpless at war to the extent that her family needs to get rid of her to protect her. And then you throw her into a situation where she's going to be in 3 times the danger. And in that crucible, she's going to have to turn into a diamond, and you're going to get your macho Peru.
But that would be insane. That's exactly what they're saying they don't want to do, right? Like, that's why Drummer is feeling him out here to determine if Michio is going to be in more or less danger if she goes on his ship.
No,
if
I
she
get
determines
it.
That she's going to be in more danger, she just won't send her on that ship, right? That would be insane.
This is putting the kid that can't dribble from Hoosiers in at the last minute in the semi-championship game, and instead of him collapsing, he sinks the 3 for, you know, it's like, yeah, like, but that's a story that you can tell, you know.
I don't know. This is like taking the kid from Hoosiers who can't dribble and saying, oh shit, we're going to be in the championship game. Maybe we should get him on a team that isn't going to be in the championship game. And then you find out that the other team you were planning to ship him to is in fact going to be in the championship game. So
right. And he's their star player. Yeah, I get. Yeah.
So
but it does feel
why
like
would you trade
an
him?
arc, maybe. Maybe the thing was holding her back is her love. Like she was so afraid of screwing up because it would mean the death of her family, and now she's on a strange ship and she can just be a soldier and not be the fan. Like I think I can squint and see an arc where she turns out to be a badass. That's kind of like, you know, a proto drummer. I don't think she can be drummer in 4 episodes, but
no. I mean,
like
I'm
not pushing the wrong fucking button and fucking up everyone's ambush and plan. Like I think that's the arc that they got her on.
Yeah, if I'm drummer, I at least put her on someone else's. Put somebody else's finger on that button. But yeah,
I can tell you fucking book readers, you love this Macho Peru, and they're not going to let her go. They're not going to let her be disrespected. They're not going to let her shuffle off into the side of the board.
Macho Peru is definitely no Michio Pa. I'll tell you that.
I do love a lot of, like, I consistently love how much Drummer in retrospect loves Ashford. Like, you know, the obvious pride she takes piloting his ship, and you know, it's hard as a coffin nail and twice as sharp, just like Ashford. I miss Ashford. He's a good character.
And the other possibility here is that Walker is not actually going to go in with him and pirate shit from Marco and hit those depots himself. He's actually just going to keep doing his thing and give Drummer the information that she needs to go do it. And that would make sense to still trade Michio off.
Telling you, you got to get Macho Peru into action, though. She's going to see some action. She's going to push a button.
I think we can let her
the right
go.
button this time.
And then the last scene of the series is, you know, Drummer coming back, making good on the promise. I'll come back for you.
Macho's just sitting there knitting socks on Epidus. We'll see. Mildly interesting. Let's move on to Filip making final arrangements for the family of his friend that he killed last episode. I don't know what this kid's name. The kid had 3 minutes of horn dog acting, and he got blown away. But that guy,
Filip says his name twice in this episode. I can't decipher it because we have no subtitles, and the internet doesn't even know this guy exists yet. So
right, yep.
Yeah,
it's tough. Like it's tough because I tried to look up, Irizami, like, you know, because I like, you know, looking into the lore behind the names. They usually mean something. Sometimes they don't. Like last season, there was someone named after a school administrator in the LA County school system. Like, so I couldn't find any good solid hits for that. But and yeah, by the way, if you know what Irizami they're getting at with that, let me know. Expanse@baldmove.com. I'd love to share it with the fan base. But yeah, I have no idea what this kid's name is. But I think Filip's trying to do what he thinks a military commander in this situation would do. Try to do right by him, and he's stymied by blonde Nazi poster girl belter Renfield. Ringo. What's her name? Rosenfeld. Boy, it's gonna be a tough one for me to get. Apparently. But he runs right up against a brick wall of her not giving a shit about anything, and his effect of like, oh well, cool, never mind then. And then she kind of realizes like what a monster, and like, oh, this is actually, you know, Hitler's kid. Maybe I should ease up on the dick throttle a bit. And she's like, yeah, months of fuel pellets and a new mining net. That's probably a pretty good haul for a poor Belter family. Yeah,
I guess. It seems like a small price for the life of your child, but yeah, sure. I guess beggars can't be choosers.
And if I put on my Belter goggles, this is like, you know, I'm thinking about Diogo's origin story of getting chucked out of an airlock because his crazy uncle went after a Martian patrol. And that all started because of their old shitty nets. You know, the whole, you know, the whole thing, you know, that he had to like take all these safety precautions, and Diogo didn't do it right, and it fucked things up. And so like, I guess, you know, it's like a sheep and 2 cows don't seem a lot for a remuneration for a dead child until you're like back in the Middle Ages, you know, and that's like a year's worth of pay, right? So
sure,
who knows?
Yeah, seems like Filip is trying to swallow his guilt here. You know, after his dad and him had a talk. And they show that too with him like composing the death message to the family. Like the first one is Filip, and the second one is Farco, which is Philip's impression of what he right? It's
Yes.
the first one is just Filip. Second one is Inaros.
I like Fargo.
Fargo, sure.
Him trying to be his dad, the Philip version of his dad.
What about Milip?
But Milip? Nah, Fargo. Fargo's definitely more pelter.
Yeah.
Before the assault on the Azure Dragon, UNN-1, the Zenobia, I like that. The fact that any ship that's got Avasarala is UNN-1. So it's nice. Nice touch to Earth history. It's buzzing with her military advisors having cows of all shapes and sizes about the fact that she's doing some kind of wild and crazy mission, and Monica's skulking around the bulkheads, just soaking up all this information.
Monica just popping up everywhere. I love it.
Yeah. And then fuck it. Let's just talk about this whole battle from start to finish.
Okay.
Phase 1, the sneak, which doesn't last very long. This is the, this feels like a submarine movie where you're trying to approach the ship from the back behind the screws where they're sonar blind, and they fucking pull a crazy Ivan and they're onto you and they go rabbit. So then you get into the chase.
Well, I love the build up to this where they are trying to sneak up on him. The music is so good. It's got I don't even know how to describe it, but it has an almost underwater feel too, right? It's like these subdued electronica sounds that you would think of as belter music, I imagine. And
you got the crew preparing, like they're getting on, their spacesuit, ready to do battle in 0G, and there's significant the first time I was watching, I'm like, what the fuck is going on with Naomi? Because like I was starting to feel like, man, this is starting to get back to smug, self-righteous season 2 Naomi, which I thought we were kind of done with, but it turns out that she probably just had some suppressed trauma from all the shit she dealt with last season, and it was starting to bubble. I like Amos fucking around with Bobby about the Goliath suits, hey, where can I get me one of them? Oh, it'll break you in half, Pee-wee. I read book 5 just the other week, and I was surprised to see what I would consider like pretty obvious sexual tension between Alex and Bobby in that book.
Yeah.
And I remember in season 3, there was a little bit of light flirtation going on with Bobby and Alex. Is that a thing in the books, and are they transferring that to Amos? Because I don't know, maybe Bobby just flirts with everybody.
Yeah, I can't remember how often she flirts, but no, it's not a thing in the books.
Just don't worry your pretty little head about it.
Books swing pretty far afield of romance in the final goings.
Yeah, it's hard to fuck when you got all this war on.
Yeah.
Unless you're Filip.
I mean, that's not true. Alex does go to a bar and get laid in book 6 pretty early on.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
that's pretty much I think
but it's not Bobby.
Amos visits a brothel in almost every book.
For sure.
But yeah, they have they also deploy like this Bobby kind of referred to it obliquely as the thing that she's got to cut the engines, and it turns out that's an EMP device. They're getting that ready. And then when they rabbit, Holden, punches it, and everyone just crumples to the deck, except Bobby and her power armor.
Fuck yeah.
Which is so like, that's one of the coolest things is like the contrast between, because Amos is like an immensely strong guy.
Yeah.
And he with a great effort and screaming and yelling can get to his hands and knees. And Bobby is just with the strength of her power armor, just like, like Naomi's plastered to the deck. She comes jetting down and just strides, picks up the EMP.
Yeah,
and
it's badass.
Also, like the way they're making these breakneck maneuvers. Like there's some real danger there. Like Bobby, sizes up the second, and the second her trajectory matches, she just jumps for it. And does her Spider Woman routine on the side of that thing and cuts its engines. That I thought that was even more badass than the actual assault, like her just doing that leap of faith.
Yeah, no, the whole thing is super cool. I absolutely love seeing Bobby just kind of walking around in multi-G burns. And that jump, I was holding my breath during that jump because like I think, Bobby jumps out there. She's probably got some boosters. I think we've seen boosters on her suit before.
And they're firing.
She could get back in, but she's not probably not going to get another chance at this, right? They're going to have to wait to pick her up or leave her there, which is
because it's also a race. Like Marco's people clearly, like we find this later on, but they're in a race on inside to try the blow the core or delete it and get rid of, because they know, and it's not like they have a chance to reset up for this. This is like you got like and once there's like a constant clock under all this. Like once the EMP goes off, like the ship goes dead, but you start to see the running lights come back on and Bobby's suit rebooting. Like, and they even say, like, for the dumb people, us getting back in and running means that they inside must be getting close to being back and running. So they have to cut the power for real. They have to blow. It's a great scene. And things go wrong. Like the belters go out and they start, there's these small arms fires, got no threat to Bobby, but they're smart. That's just a decoy operation for the guy with the handheld rocket launcher to come and cut her in half.
Yeah.
And Clarissa puts a stop to that.
Yeah, no, it's great. And Naomi malfunctions a bit.
I've always heard about how dangerous it is to throw up in your suit too.
Yeah.
And like I thought the fishbowl effect of the vomit and like, how like that's a medical emergency, man. In 0G. And that takes, because like you already had Naomi scratched. Now, like, Bobby's supposed to be the one that breaches and goes in here, Invincible Bobby. Now it's like Holden and Amos. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is the last season. And I don't know what happens in the books. Like, fuck, it's been a long time since they killed like a real main character. Like maybe it's going to. So like also, I was on pins and needles.
The thing I kept worrying about is that they were going to get the Azure Dragon fired back up and just take off. Because if you look at that scene, like nobody's left on the Rossi. Nobody.
Right.
I mean, Naomi, I think, is the only. Naomi is on the Rossi. I was thinking, man, they're not going to get these. They're not going to get their people back if this happens.
And if you fall off, you hit the drive cone. We see how bad that, like up. That's the radiation to kill you. Like, like if I'm the Belters and I get the reactor fired back up, I just dump it and blow it the sec. So like. Yeah, like I said, I felt the ticking clock, and I found this extremely exciting. This show does action scenes, especially that space action, like them trying to like turn and run and lose it, because like that's the other thing is they know the Rocinante's going to blow them up, because if they wanted to, would have done it already. So like they know, like they just have to run, they have to do. Man, it's great. It's a great scene.
When Peaches uses her mod, I was a little confused as to why she would use it. Because they don't show like what she's looking at. She just kind of looks over and then uses it. I'm like, well, Bobby just shot the two threats right there. And then she's already dealt with the problem before we even realize there is a problem, which I love that little detail.
Helmet off.
Right? She goes in and just goes berserk, tears this dude in half, almost literally. And before we even see it. And I love that moment, before Bobby even sees it, right?
And it was a great, also like Bobby being surprised by this giant red gash in the hull of the ship. Like, I don't know what, like they say it's a rocket. I wish they did a better job selling that guy as a heavy, like a heavy weapons guy. Like I needed that gun to be like twice as long and bulkier, because I'm just
I need magnetic mounts. I need shit that you have to like strap to the ship, right? Magnetically and fire.
Because it didn't read as an obvious threat to me.
Right.
But it was a solid plan to have essentially the two Belters sacrifice themselves to draw the fire of the Martian Marine while the third guy comes with this kill shot. And if it hadn't been for Clarissa, which this is the mechanism they're going to use to make everything all right on the ship.
Right.
But yeah, Naomi makes quick work of the encryption on the hasty encryption on the Azure Dragon, and they get what can only be described as what Holden says. It's a mother lode. Like it looks like hundreds of rocks, green and red. I imagine the red ones are things they've already done, and the green ones are the active ones, but just a shit ton of rocks.
The thing is, it tells you exactly which ones have been armed.
Yep, and so this is like months, if not years, of effort that Marco has got to keep the Earth pinned down, and now it's all going to be undone. And it's a big turning point in the war, it feels like. So back on UNN1, the Zenobia, Avasarala gives Monica a very special assignment.
Actually, before we move on, we should state that like the ship is the one that was sending the signals out to actually activate these things. I don't think that Marco can remotely do that. So I think by also taking out this ship or capturing the ship, they've eliminated Marco's ability to throw rocks at all. It's not even just like, oh, he could push a button and they could go at once and cause a problem for another week or so. No, it's like he can't do anything with these weapons anymore.
Yeah, and he'd have to build it all from scratch if he wanted to. While
the fleet's off the leash, right?
Fleet is chasing you down. Yeah,
that's the big thing. The fleet is off the leash,
and he never had. In my understanding, he never had the numbers.
No,
like if Earth and Mars united with everything they got, that they're going to. But like, it's just keeping him busy. And like, has he bought his fleet enough time to do whatever the fuck they need to do to win permanently?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see. So back on the Zenobia, Avasarala gives Monica a special assignment, which is a very particular story that she wants told.
Oh, that's the description. Yeah. My favorite line of the episode is in this. My favorite 2 lines, actually, where Monica tells Christian that she gives a really good guilt trip. That was good. And then Christian responds with, I practice a lot when I'm alone.
Yeah.
That is such a Christian thing to do, right?
Well, that's a consistent guilt trip. That's a consistent. That's a very consistent thing that the show, like the Avasarala, is kind of reluctant. That she's like, back when I was younger, I used to think that this kind of shit was beneath just a toilless and thankful work. But then I realized there's only a limited amount of adults in the room, and if you're one of them, you kind of have to step up. And that's like, I think she gives her that speech every fucking day, like this is obviously hard. It's a thankless job. She doesn't particularly relish, especially the political things that go along with it. But God damn it, she's the adult in the room and she's the best woman for the job. She's got to do it. And she passes that buck along to other people as often as she can get.
Sure.
So I thought it was nice. It reminded me, echoed to that. I think speech she gave to Holden, because when Holden was starting to whine about it being too tough, or back in season 3, because he went through a brief arc of like, you know what? Yeah, when he was she had just fled the clutches of Mao on the Razorback, and Holden's like, I've tried to do good and it's all just fucked up, and he just wanted to quit. But it's a good speech, and I like the idea. It's funny. Like, I got a kick out of it because, of course, you and I have been working for some months now on this Berry Belt to Christmas that everything's gone well. We launched sometime this week, or maybe next week,
or last week. Who knows?
We conceived it as like, because there's the line where Avasarala, Monica's like, well, you've got people to do this kind of propaganda piece. And she's like, said something along the lines, yes, and if I've got some space herpes or, some new thing I want, like those people are fine for it. But I need, and because that's exactly what we produce. Like, this is pre-Marco throwing rocks, the UN trying to induce cooperation amongst the peoples of the, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, what we did is not what Monica's doing. We did the shitty space herpes PSA version of whatever Monica's going to do. But I got to kick out of that. I think
it has more weight coming from Monica, right? I mean, she's the person who's been following Holden and the proto-molecule, and she has her career has been immensely boosted. Her I guess clout and the respect she gets from people over the last few seasons. So coming from her, it's going to feel like more valuable to people, more honest, more real.
Yeah, you think about like, how much kind of power that certain reporters get when they're reporting from a war scene, or and she cut her teeth as the pirate free radio on board the Behemoth when things were going down in the Ring Gate, and she's been like they said, this trusted source of information about like this fair and balanced reporting about what's going on between the Belt and Earth and Mars. And that's a two-edged sword, because like, she points out, it's like, people trust me for a reason, and I'm not going to let you use my good name to bullshit. And obviously I was like, but I'm not asking you to lie. I want you to tell a full and accurate version of the truth, what she feels Suitor needs, which is like to slow down Marco's war effort. You know, if you can just peel off a few belters and make him feel sorry for Earth rather than, you know, vindicated and justified, then that's going to make Marco's, you know, that's going to make his life a hell of a lot harder.
Sure.
And I think it'll work. I do kind of cringe because it seems like they're going to have to do a version of this thing. And anytime like you know, we talked about this before, anytime like a TV show sets out to make a hit pop music, or this came up in Mad Men, you know, these are supposed to be the best advertisers in the world. Like, it's got to feel like that's a good ad, right? Like you hear it like, fuck yeah, I want to buy Heinz ketchup.
Yeah.
Monica's going to have to do like a really good devastation of the earth thing that they can show for 30 seconds, I think. And it's got to be good and not cringy, like, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see it. Maybe we'll see it.
Is this a book plot?
I thought Holden did something like this in one of the books where he was trying to sympathize. It was the other way though. I thought he was like trying to get Belter stories together. Even closer to what we're doing with
care more
Very
about
Belter Christmas. Yeah, to get them to understand each other. I can't remember. It's been a while.
I wondered if this was a book 6 plot, because it's another thing where it's like, I can see why Avasarala is doing this, but like, what does it look like in terms of story? You know, like, is this just going to be something where we see Monica with a microphone and like a tear running down her face, like cutting, like, this is Monica signing off,
right? Arms of an Angel is like, playing.
It's exactly. There's no way the Belt can hate us after they've seen. And then like then the tide starts turning them. I don't. Yeah, it's like, yeah, how is this? Like Bobby's mission, yeah, as soon as I heard it, like, fuck yeah, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a special effects thing. It's going to be this, going to be that. Gets the crew to get Monica, like, the fuck,
hard
like,
to pull off.
Her special, yeah, what's that look like?
It's nice in juxtaposition to the news feed we saw at the beginning of last episode, right? Kind of catching us up for the 6 months where it's all like anguish and anger and despair and all that stuff.
I also, there's a little production element I noticed. There's seal of the UN, or at least of the Secretary Generals. I don't think I've seen the full thing, but there's a Latin motto at the bottom. Presumably there's something at the top, but it's Tellura Una, which I think is Latin for "We are all one Earth." Okay. Which I thought was, you know, it's exactly kind of Latin shit that they'd have in a seal like that. I was hoping to get a full shot of it so I could see what the full phrase was, but it's cool. I like that they do that stuff. I love that they you know, pay attention to that kind of detail. Then finally, well, I guess not finally, Holden visits Peaches in the Rossley sickbay to give her an official ass chewing for improvising on their last mission. An ass chewing that seems to cement her as part of the official crew of the Rocinante. So it's a double-edged.
She didn't get the ass chewing part of this scene. She just got the Holden likes me now part of this scene,
which was funny. That's like, it's her and Amos are pretty cute.
For sure.
And Amos is thrilled that now she's becoming at least, you know, one more. I don't know if she's won over Naomi, although I guess like she's kind of got to be, because that mission would have gone all kinds of pear-shaped if it hadn't been for her. So maybe she's won them both over.
And she was going out as a pair with Claire, I think.
Right.
Kind of
she was still not making eye contact with her, still like, you know, being standoffish. And now I wonder, although I guess it could go the other way, is like maybe she feels that Clarissa showed her up, you know, like she was supposed to do the job and she froze up. And
I don't know.
That's maybe an asshole way to take it, but you know, people do weird shit.
Sure.
But yeah, but here's the thing about Holden. Okay, genius. She radios you to talk about like what should happen. I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't know what kind of ass chewing you give, because like if she'd done anything else than what she'd done, one or more people die.
That's the thing. Like, you got to make split second decisions, and you don't always have time to radio back through the chain of command, get them to decide without eyes on the situation. And yeah, it's tough.
And that's not how this crew always works, to be clear.
Oh, no.
This is kind of a much more first among equals kind of thing. And yes, you're right. In a life or death situation, they kind of all defer to Holden because mutual assent. But like, we've seen Amos make calls, we've seen Alex make calls, we've certainly seen Naomi make calls in the heat of the moment, and I just but it doesn't matter because what matters is she accepts the ass chewing, even though she probably could have bucked against it, and that shows that she's picking up what I guess Holden's putting down. Finally, our final scene, Marco finds out about the loss of the Azure Dragon and prepares a welcoming committee for the inner fleets that he assumes will be burning to Ceres Station to retake what they see as rightfully theirs. First off, do you agree with this tactical assessment that the Earth is going to be obsessed with getting Ceres Station back?
I don't know. Why is Earth so obsessed with Ceres? Is it because of what it represents to the belt?
It was a big, like Tycho Corporation spinning that thing up kind of made it. I think it is definitely like if there's a capital of the belt, it probably is that. It's the largest facility, most sophisticated facility.
Is it the most within reach? I mean, you had like it
is very close. It's
Star Helix being there is kind of like a middle point between Earth and the belt, right?
Yeah, and like that's what really separates the inners from the belt is the demarcation line between the inner and the outer planets. So I don't know. I think if Avasral was playing a smart political game, she would essentially say, we respect the Belters' right for independence and self-organization and Ceres, because even before Marco took it over, Anderson Dawes had taken it over more or less with the consent, like Earth is like, all right, you and Fred Johnson, you're in charge of the belt and we're gonna so like I think the smart play would be to like let the belt, like let Ceres decide and wait for Marco's starvation tactics to set in, and then I bet I bet Ceres welcomes them, like especially if Drummer's at the head of the rescue fleet. I mean, that's what needs to happen. They need to make this a true everybody's in on this, and probably Drummer needs to be the fleet commander. That would be the politically smart thing to do.
I don't know. We'll see. I can't say too much.
Yeah. I also thought that Marco seemed very scared. Like shocked and scared and like shitting his pants until and it felt like a cope when he started laughing and be like, we've been wanting to battle anyway. Like, you kind of are fucked, dude.
That's Marco.
Unless you got something real and Medina cooked up, like, yeah.
They make that point about Marco, right? In I think it's season 5, Naomi's talking about Marco and how the next plan is whatever happens was always his plan all along, right? We always
was a failure. That was just a distraction on the real goal. If the goal if the goal works, then it's like it's the result of my brilliant. Yeah, he's always got a way to spin it. Yeah.
It was always the plan, but it wasn't always the plan. But now it's always the plan. It is kind of the thing. Like, oh yeah, of course. He jumps from one plan to the next.
Because like if they are doing an all-out war at Ceres, that might be the biggest fleet battle we ever see. And like I think this show has talked around a fleet battle a lot more than actually shown it, Like, we've seen the beginnings of one, we've seen the ends of one, we've seen like what was going to be a big fleet battle. Going to be
huge, yeah.
But even then, that's like a half dozen capital ships and
true.
And there's a couple, but like we might get like a full-scale fleet engagement, which that would be pretty sexy. But we'll see.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode. Do you got anything else you want to talk about?
I do not.
Well, what do you guys and gals want to talk about? Our tight beam receptor is wide open at expanse@baldmove.com if you'd like to send us a message. We will be doing a dedicated feedback episode next week to kind of catch up. And again, then we'll be, weekly on episode 3 and 4. That'll get us past Christmas into the new year. We'll do another standalone catch-up episode, and we'll probably continue to do a single episode and a separate feedback episode for the Expanse, because that's worked so well on other shows that we've had screeners for, because it lets us keep the episodes fresh in mind, and it make sure we don't get our email like goofed up 2 weeks later or whatever. So that's our understanding. So we should be able to get to it next week. Thanks to everybody that has reached out to us. Expanse@baldmove.com. We'll be back next Thursday or early Friday morning, date and time, ready with another fresh episode of Beltalota for you after the episode. We'll see you then. And until then, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Jim.
Later.